remember that time that I wanted, the video that I did with you, and I wanted to like say what country you're from,
Yes, yes, yes.
and then you're like, um, I'm African, right? First off, he's not African, so I was just like, where in Africa do you come from? And then you said,
Oh, we're a people. I'm a diasporic or diaspora. I think it's the correct way to say it. I say it diaspora for some reason because the way I see it, but I think it's diaspora aesthetic or African.
okay, so basically, you see, where are you from? Like,
Okay, where I was born. I was born in Ottawa. I moved around, grew up in Montreal, and then now where my home is, where a lot of my family is in Edmonton. But the reason why I say I'm a diasporic African is just because I don't know, like, been reading a lot of stuff lately and just kind of I've been feeling a little bit lost. I don't know if I think a lot of other Black people do feel a little bit lost inside Canada, not having their culture, and I think identify yourself as a diasporic African kind of gives you that history and kind of going not that your history didn't just start here with slavery and in chains and being an inferior, but your history started back in Africa where you were not necessarily a king or queen as some people would like to say, but you were more equal and you had your own culture, your own traditions and stuff like that. And like the definition of a diasporic African is a people that have been exiled or been removed from their original homeland and been dispersed. And so everyone has different histories, like the way it happened in different like countries in Africa and all in Haiti and stuff like that. It happened differently, but essentially it's the same. They were both removed from the original population of the original country of Motherland, if you will. If to say from Africa, as we can see from the bones of Lucy, which are over millions and millions of years old. But I guess where it becomes kind of blurred through the lines is how do you kind of bring all those people that have been dispersed together in one community. And I think that's kind of what the diaspora kind of represents. It's not like a literal representation of a race, but an ideology, a more theoretic ideology that can bring the people together and have a sense of community within each other to identify those backgrounds. But those people have still evolved and still changed. Those people that have been dispersed from Africa, they've changed so much, but that they all came from the same. You know what I mean? But like you can show the changing of the way they people dispersed and stuff like that, and it's still, yeah, I guess you could name it as your own culture if you wanted to, but I feel as like to combine those makes them stronger. To have to realize how like we're very very different, but we're also very very the same in some sense.
so, like, do you think do you think us uniting will be an easy task? Because, like, the Black people in Montreal, for instance, like, we know each other, but there's still the whole, oh, this is my culture, so I'm gonna hang out with them, and this is my culture. And, like, sure, we're all proud of our cultures, right? Our individual cultures, but do you think as Black people we'll be able to come together and be like, we share this Africanness?
I think so. Yes, I think in some places it happens. It's not 100%. It doesn't happen across the board everywhere. I know in Trinidad, my uncle is he is the head of the one of the black organizations there, and so they do a lot of kind of things because the dynamic there is like there's a lot of blacks, there's a lot of East Indians, and there's a couple whites and stuff like that. So there's the divide between the blacks and the East Indians as opposed to here where there's a little bit of divide between black and there, and so like I guess, and it's hard to bring all those people together because there's been so many years of being deceived and being hurt on, especially by their own people and by other people.
And saying like this group is better than this
Then
group,
this group,
and
yeah,
then so I feel like we have a lot of
competition.
yeah,
in
we
a
have a lot
sense.
of deep divides in the community. Like we have like the whole light skins and dark skins,
Yes,
and
yes,
there's
yes.
all of it's not helping.
No, it doesn't help at all, and I think like representation and stuff, and I think it's a whole strain of things to try. But like I think you need to once you understand the concept behind it, and if you can really think critically about what's happened in the past and to identify yourself, and I think that's the most important part. It's not that the Diasporic African is like I'm is not taking away my Canadianness at all. It's not, because I was born here and it represents who I am, but it's acknowledging something that even came before. It's not like some people, like I watched the debate about Ken Ham versus Bill Nye. Ken Ham believes that he can teach our past through the Bible and the Bible of Genesis, and that the Bible of Genesis says that the world is 6,000 years old. And then where you can see in the rocks and stuff like that, where you can specifically see that the world is far, far older than that. And it's just like, it's just the ideology where when you have that, when you can grasp that concept of that there were these people here before, that we even came here before Columbus did and stuff like that, where we were here before, where we impacted it. We didn't start a war. We didn't colonize everyone else. Do you know what I mean? When you understand of where your roots come from, you can kind of think is like where we're living in this world today is like, this isn't represented. This isn't not necessarily representative of what we created. This isn't necessarily who we are. And I find that, especially I don't like being necessarily Canadian or American or Black American for those things, because a lot of those things are very patriarchal and very like hyper masculinity and stuff like that, especially with the way we're represented in movies and stuff like that, which isn't necessarily representations of us as a culture, but one person's or a group of persons' ideology who don't really represent, but who have a picture of what a culture is. And that's kind of why I try to build that sense of community within a sense, so you can kind of, then there's that wall, and that you can kind of confront back to it and push back with all these representations. Like, I don't know, have you seen the NWA movie by chance, like Straight Outta Compton? Have you seen it?
Not yet.
I haven't seen it either, but I don't want to see it. Like, I'm having this conversation with my mom, and it's just like the names of their songs alone is like a bitch is a bitch, or like nut all over her. There's disgusting terms and stuff like that. I'm like, where did this? And these people are like, they're supposed to be representative, like, fuck the police and things like this, and they're supposed to be, the black fight in a sense, but like they don't realize that they're perpetuating white supremacy, imperialist society by their lyrics and what they're doing and the things that they're trying to project onto women. And if you realize, like, the violence against women and all these things, like the violence against women and violence alone, men against men and men against women violence is ridiculous. Like, the numbers, and people would like to show that, black males are like, I don't know, like, you get this feeling that like black males are inherently violent, that they're drug dealers and that they're on the street and stuff like that. And like there's fear in people's eyes when they look at these children and stuff, because they see what they can become or how they're depicted on movie screens and stuff like that. And it's like, but that's not how you are. So once you can kind of encompass this kind of thinking, I think it will help to open your mind to really accept it and embrace it, and to try and find other traditions than the ones that have just been given to you and taught to you without any kind of battle and forefront that are challenging those thinkings that have already been there and ideologies that are presented for us.
Okay, so you think, because what you just said is related a lot to the media, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you think if we have better representations, as in if we have black people from all sides of the world coming together in one show or something,
Mm-hmm.
you think that would help our whole case?
I don't think it's just one show. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I think to have those shows and to still speak to the kids, to make it relevant, to make it, because especially in our age of the tech age, it's like you can only hold people's attentions for this long if they don't, like, you know what I mean? And especially, like, I feel as though the education should start with the young. And I think you need to find a way to balance the new mainstream of Snapchat, Facebook, and Instagram, and still make it cater to them in a sense, but still have good teachings and good educations of history behind it, of cultural representation and stuff. But yes, I do believe so, and I think there needs to be a more movement of more of black creators making black shows, but that aren't necessarily funded by white producers in a sense, because that's what happens. Like, I was looking at some of the black shows, like there was Paid in Full, there was there was another one like Belly. There's like a lot of these old school black shows that I used to like, and so I like the directors were black. So you're kind of saying, oh no, there's black people part of it, but then you look at who the producers are, and there's like about 5 or 6 producers, and like so these are the money men, and they're all males. All of these movies are representative of horrific violence. And it's like, but like there's about 2 black males and there's 3 white males. It doesn't matter what color they are. They're all males perpetuating this idea of violence, of what a black male is supposed to do with guns and stuff like that. And I don't want to be representative of that, because that's not who I feel I am, and that's not who I feel our culture is or was ever, in a sense, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard a few people, like a few West Indians, talk about how they want to go back to the motherland, right? And I think it's really cool, but at the same time, some of them talk as if they're going to move back to Africa. But then there's a problem of, okay, sure, completely okay, but how you can't just show up one day and expect to fit in.
Yeah, definitely,
right?
definitely.
Like I read a book by Maya Angelou where she went to Ghana, her and a few expats from the States. They went to Ghana and they automatically thought that they would just be accepted and embraced into the community because, they're black, and they're like, yeah, we're African, right? We're descendants of Africans. But that's not how it worked out. They were not embraced into society, and they had to like have their own tiny community of like Americans.
See, that's a problem, the divide there. Then you already have a hierarchy there of, oh, we're better, because you know what I mean. And I think in that situation where I think the people in Africa need to maybe take a little bit of charge, and to maybe extend these programs out to these people, and to promote it more, to like, come back, and because I think that helps economically and to prosper when you're bringing more people back into your country, that they'll, if they open up store-bought businesses, and if they're bringing something to the table to bring, in the sense that it's going to help Africa grow and that community, I think that's a good thing. And I think that's what should get promoted, because I like my girlfriend is Jewish, and so they have this thing called birthright. Whereas the Jewish people, like the kids and stuff like that, wherever you, regardless of your dependent, I don't know if you have to be a certain amount of Jewish. I'm not 100% sure about the religion, but like if you're Jewish, you can go back for free. You can go to a trip, and you go on a trip of your land, and like where the roots are and stuff like that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So they offer this, and this is I'm pretty sure it's free for almost every Jewish person. And I've never heard of anything like that for a black person that identifies themselves as Diasporic African to go back to Africa and to actually see the land. It was, you know what I mean? And so and I think that's a part of the problem, because it costs a lot of money to move your entire family from there all the way to another land on a whim. It's very tough. It's a scary feeling. I know, even moving away from my family from Edmonton to here is a huge thing. So to move your entire family when you're economically dependent on the system that you were born in, to go to a different system, and then also the thing is too, it's like I would love to go back to Africa, but then in a sense, like, I don't want to put this. I'm scared, legitimately, just because I don't know what it really is like. I think I need to go. I think I need to really debunk those fears and just go there and and really experience it. But I guess just because, and I was actually have a conversation, and and this is a conversation with a man from Senegal, I believe, and he said, and he didn't like it there. You know what I mean? And that's a very like it's like, and you hear the word from other Africans that say they come here and they think their own country isn't that great, and so you're kind of like, well, do I really want? Then you're kind of, there's these question marks that start to pop up in your head, where you're kind of like, okay, no, I'll put it off later down the road, and then eventually you might never get to it. But I think it is important for every black person that identifies themselves from African descent to go to Africa, and to go on, like, maybe like they should have like a tour of like 2 days in each kind of surrounding country, and to really get a grasp, a scope of what it really is like in the living there and stuff.
Yeah. So, like that sounds really interesting, but the thing is like expensive.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Like
definitely.
we're going, like Africa as a continent is like every country is having their own problems right
Yeah,
now, and I feel
exactly,
like
exactly,
this is
definitely.
not the time to start inviting people over. And also with the way that the slave trade worked is that it was like on the west coast. So if you're going back to Africa, you don't know what country you're going to. Like you don't know where, you have to like really dig in and do some research to know where your ancestors came from, because they could have come from Nigeria, Ghana, like you're not sure. And then on top of that, we have 54 countries. So are you only going to go to like 3 countries on the west coast? Are you going to try go to the east of the continent? Or I don't know, I guess it's when you're talking about your girlfriend, I guess that seems easier because it's
Yeah,
one
one,
country.
definitely, for
Yeah,
sure.
and then now we talk about 54. Like
Hmm.
I've only been to maybe 6
Hmm.
African countries,
Hmm.
and like that's not
Yeah,
even
it's not
close to
even covered.
half.
It's not even covering it, and I feel you on that, definitely.
Yeah,
Mm.
but so I feel like us now as the black community of Montreal, we should, you know, come together. Because I know whenever we come together, it's like there's a party, there's food,
Mm.
and it's a social event. But don't you think we should maybe sit down and actually talk about this?
Definitely, definitely. It should be always be openly debated. I feel like I've from my consciousness and awakening to these sort of things, I watched other people talk
Mm-hmm.
like Bell Hooks and Kevin Powell, and they have these conferences and stuff like that. And I think there needs to be black leaders to
Mm-hmm.
try and push these movements and stuff. But I think you can't just force people to go back to Africa. I think you just gotta, but I think you need to make them aware. I think awareness is the most important thing here, not to have them open to give them the choice of where they want to be and who they want to be identified as, is because I feel as though they're not, most of black Africans, black men and women are not getting the chance to really choose and to really be open to that consciousness, and I think they're not going to get taught it in schools. So I feel as though, yes, I feel as though these talks need to happen so that we can educate our generation to be conscious of these things and to make a choice and to acknowledge their African heritage.
So basically, um, you identify yourself as African, like
Mhm.
you believe that Africa makes up part of your identity and
Yeah,
who you are.
definitely.